Assalamualaikum and hi. We are from Group 1 of UHMS6013, Section 7, Seminar on Global Development, Economic and Social Issues, would share with you on our topic, which is exploring the impacts of Buy Now, Pay Later BNPL among Millennials and Gen Z in Malaysia. Before we go deeper into the depth of this topic, our group consists of 5 members, including me, Nurnikman Podin, Angrong G, Nurfatin Atira, Nur Tasha Idayu, and Siti Nur Balkis. Video will include introduction, research objective, informants demographic profile, research findings summary, research findings in impacts involving social, cultural, financial, political, and psychological. Finally, we will end our conclusion.
In recent years, buy now, pay later services have become more common in Malaysia, especially among millennials and Generation Z. These services are popular because they allow users to buy items immediately and pay in small amounts later, making shopping easier and more flexible. However, while BNPL offers convenience, there are growing concerns about how it affects young people in different areas of their life. This study aims to explore the effects of BNPL usage on millennials and Gen Z in Malaysia by looking at 5 main aspects, which are social, cultural, economic, political, and psychological.
Our research objective is to explore the impacts of BNPL among millennials and Gen Z in Malaysia.
Here is the informant demographic profile, which we have 5 informant. So here the pseudonym of the informant is Ana, Bilal, Cahaya, Dion and Amir. So we have 2 females and 3 males as the informant, and the age is diverse that divides between the millennial generation and the Gen Z generation. So the even level of the education is ranging between SPM till bachelor degree. And the range of income, mostly the informant income is below 3,000. Only Ana is 3,000 to 6,000, the range of the income.
Come to the research findings, we have 5 items to discuss, starting with social, cultural, economic or financial, political, and last but not least, psychological. Let's see on the traditional credit versus BNPL as a sub-theme of the social impact. According to the study made by Chua and his team members on 2023, BNPL features is highly similar to the credit card, or we say the traditional credits, which allow the user to buy items, things they wanted immediately and pay later, rather than waiting until they have enough money to pay. Besides, the BNPL also have a greater, wider accessibility as compared to the traditional credit. Also, so it requires a lower requirement to become the BNPL user requirement. The barrier to entry is lower in overall compared to traditional credit user entry requirement. Consumer behavior still under the social impact. As per discussed before, BNPL serve better than traditional credit. Actually, it's not really the case. They are about the same features, just that now BNPL have a better accessibility and also low entry requirement. That's why make it BNPL more popular when compared to the traditional credit. And according to a study made by the Moza and his team on year 2024 also, the BNPL serve like a platform, and the analogous electronic payment offer from the BNPL has reshaped the consumer behavior, such as impulsive buying, as the payment is quick type. Why we call it quick type? Because we can make it payment and already have the items on hand without full payment, which is a lot of burden from the consumer sub-theme. Financial well-being, according to the study brought by Moore and his team on year 2017, financial well-being is defined as the ability to meet financial commitments, have some disposable income, maintain control over personal finances, and feel secure now and in the future. In short, it won't fall into debt, to put it short. Through the convenience of what BNPL offer in terms of accessibility and also the low entry requirement as discussed earlier, the consumer of BNPL can have possibilities to fall into financial debt if they feel the lacking of the awareness or self-discipline in handling their financial management. It can easily fall into debt, and some kind of a debt cycle can occur when they're not handling the BNPL concept properly. Our study here shown that comparing two generations, Millenials has a risk of being that kind of victim, but still not fully become into a debt.
About cultural impact of BNPL in Malaysia. So, based on interviews with Malaysian users and supported by recent research, we identified two cultural sub-themes, which the first one is normalization among Malaysian youth. BNPL has become increasingly normalized in Malaysia, especially for the frequent online shoppers. So many informants in the study shared how BNPL is now common in their daily routines. For example, a millennial group said, among the people in my social circle, using BNPL services has become quite normal. Since many of us regularly shop online, BNPL has naturally become a part of our purchasing habits. A Gen Z participant also shared that nowadays it seems that almost every type of purchase can be made using installment payment methods, not just everyday items, but also services like veterinary care and even motorbikes. So these statements shows that BNPL is no longer unusual. It becomes part of the modern consumer behavior. So this also supported by research from the International Journal of Research and Innovation in Social Science found that BNPL usage in Malaysia increased by 35% in 2024. And according to Bank Negara Malaysia, 45% of Malaysian consumers have used BNPL, mainly because of its convenience and accessibility. Just like how e-wallets, online banking became the norm a decade ago, also happened to BNPL just now. And from all these statements, it shows that BNPL is widely used because of the convenience, the easy accessible, and also the flexibility. Next, changing perceptions of debt and financial behavior. This sub-theme is how BNPL reshaping the perspective of debt in Malaysia. Traditionally, debt is something that people want to be avoided of, but somehow today is kind of different. According to a millennial informant, I think that it will be a new norm, just like how online shopping was before. It is a newer and faster way of the older version of credit card, a cheaper, faster and affordable way to loan. This gives the positive perspective that saying BNPL as modern, accessible, and also the informant reframing the debt as a tool. On the other hand, there's a negative perspective from a Gen Z said that my friend had a hard time to pay off the BNPL because he used it more than what he earned monthly. It makes me become more organized when it comes to own financial. This gives the negative perspective from the informant that concerned about the overspending and making the informant to be better at financial planning. There is also a neutral perspective from a Gen Z said that I prefer to continue using cash for most of my purchases, but however, I'm open to use buy now pay later services occasionally, particularly when promotions or offers provided. This saying that without picking the bad or good about BNPL, the informant say that as long as the BNPL gives the benefit, so the informant will use it. These all statements align with Song and his colleagues in 2024, found that the expansion of BNPL services is convenient but also raises concerns about whether users can afford to repay what they borrow. So this research also highlight that while BNPL is convenient, the missed payment can lead to long-term credit problems. So according to the study, if consumers remain aware of and cautious, BNPL is neutral and even positive. But if they are careless and unaware, it can become a trap of debt.
BNPL services are gaining traction in Malaysia, offering interest-free installment plans that reshape consumer purchasing and financial management. Valued at US 2.78 billion in 2024, BNPL significantly impacts budgeting and spending. Millennials leverage BNPL as a budgeting tool with digital payment solutions, enhancing financial tracking in Malaysia's digital economy. Conversely, Generation Z's impulsive spending and weaker financial skills often lead to BNPL overuse, causing financial strain. This generational divide highlights BNPL's dual nature as both a financial management aid and a potential risk, depending on users' financial literacy and behavior. BNPL's interest-free installments transform consumer spending and financial management in Malaysia with distinct generational effects. Millennials use BNPL effectively for budgeting, supported by its role in financial tracking, PEDIPS 2025, and alignment with income, Bank Negara Malaysia 2023. Conversely, Generation Z often faces financial strain from overspending driven by poor budgeting and materialism, Osman 2024, risking a debt trap. The Age Malaysia 2021 and Debt Accumulation by Malaysia Financial Planning Council 2022, Bank Negara 2023, and The Star 2024 advocate for financial literacy and regulation to promote responsible BNPL use.
Political impacts on the research, and my first point is buy now pay later growth and its political ramification. So the objective of the spending or using this scheme is vary or different depending on the needs of the consumer or the user. The need of the consumer, we can include the fashion and apparel, clothing, home furnishing and decoration, electronic appliances, traveling, and lifestyle and accessory, beauty services and products, and many other things also. So here, from a political perspective, this growth presents both opportunity and risk, as the government can position buy now pay later scheme as a part of its digital Malaysia agenda, promoting financial inclusion and cashless transactions such as Atome, TNG, Boost, and many more. But if buy now pay later leads to over indebtedness, it may contribute to country economic and recession. So here, from the perspective of millennial Gen Z, that he said that that I think it'll keep going, this BNPL scheme, especially on younger user. But I also think the government might step in with more regulations soon in this political impact. So from Gen Z perspective, that in the future, It will be the next trending mode of the payment after contactless or pay with different of the buy now pay later is more safe in way of avoiding overspending. So here is the second point of political impacts, which is the mixed public perception on regulation and government policy dilemma. So the administration or the government faces pressure from multiple stakeholders as Bank Malaysia BNM advocates for stricter oversight, possibly under the Consumer Credit Act (CCA), while the financial tech industry resists heavy regulation, fearing a stiffer innovation. In Malaysia, the Consumer Credit Bill (CCB) was tabled for its first reading at the Parliament by Ministry of Finance (MOF). Once enforced, the Consumer Credit Act (CCA) will provide a comprehensive and integrated regulatory framework for the credit industry, which include the oversight of buy now pay later providers (BNPL). Against the backdrop of rising BNPL usage, with transaction increasing by 44.9% from 4.9 billion ringgit in the first half of 2024 to 7.1 billion ringgit in the second half of 2024, and users particularly consisting of B40 group. So here is the some insight from the millennial generation, which he wants a safer but with restriction. Safer BNPL but with restriction, because the BNPL without limit somehow leads to high chances of being in debt. If limit revoked or amended, will be more or less like the traditional credit card, and won't be a surprise if there will be a high number of blacklisted debtors. So from Gen Z perspective, he hopefully makes it safer and okay, and the informant will be okay with some rules if they protect the user, but still they want an access to it with more transparency from both sides.
Next, we move on to the psychological impact of BNPL on millennials and Gen Z. Emotional instability, such as stress and anxiety, is a common issue faced by users of these services. Scomberg and Hoffman 2023 found that financial pressure for payment deadlines or increasing debt often leads to emotional distress, including frustration and heightened anxiety. Similarly, Zhang and Kim's research shows that financial worries can negatively affect mental health, especially when individuals struggle to meet financial obligations. In Malaysia, both millennials and Gen Z have reported feeling anxious when BNPL bills are due. To manage this emotional instability, both generations can adopt practical strategies such as creating a clear budget, focusing on necessary purchases, tracking spending, and setting reminders for payments. This step actually can help to improve their financial control and reduce their stress. Another psychological impact of BNPL use is a sense of insecurity, especially among Gen Z. Research shows that many Gen Z users often feel guilty or insecure after using BNPL services, mainly because they are still students or just starting their careers, which lead to unstable financial situations, according to Chris and Ho 2023. Their lack of financial experience also makes them more likely to make poor spending decisions, increasing their financial insecurity, according to Power ETL 2023. Asia 2024 also adds that Gen Z students who rely on parental support often face difficulties managing BNPL payments, further contributing to these feelings. On the other hand, millennials tend to feel more secure using BNPL as they usually have more stable incomes, better financial knowledge, and see BNPL as a helpful budgeting tool rather than a burden, according to Sokono and Pranoto 2022. Based on these findings, it is important to provide financial literacy programs targeting vulnerable groups such as Gen Z to help reduce their insecurity and improve money management.
BNPL services in Malaysia projected to reach $2.78 billion in 2024, drive social, cultural, financial, political, and psychological impacts. Hence, financial literacy and regulation are keys to balancing benefits and risks. Thanks for listening. Assalamualaikum and See you again. Bye.